ask because there's just endless information. Anybody can go to Janet Reed, the Query Shark, head to John Cusack. He's got a great video that we linked to about how to write a great query letter.
Yeah.
So that information is out there pretty much across the board.
Good.
But something that doesn't get touched on quite as often is that initial phone call with an agent or meeting an agent at a conference. So can you give us an example of what you're looking for and maybe a good conversation you've had with somebody, either at a conference or on a phone or both, and a bad conversation that you've had with somebody?
I think I think the best conversations are the ones where, there's a connection. There's some connection of shared interest, like minds. Someone who has a general knowledge about the publishing industry and what they're getting themselves into. You don't have to be like, you don't have to know every editor's name in at HarperCollins, but kind of just to have done some research and have a general sense of what you're getting yourself into, I think is very helpful. So those are the good conversations. They're really, I like to know their history as what their history is as a writer. Why did you write this book? Not what do you want to do with this book, but where did it come from? What else have you written? That's always a big question. So if you do have just that one manuscript, that's always the toughest client. It's like, so yeah, I want to know that you've written other stuff, in particular with picture book authors, because the return on a picture book is so small. Picture book advances are so small that you need to have quite a bit of material to make a go of it.
What's an average advance, would you say, for a picture book?
Around $5,000 for the author. It's one of the reasons, frankly, why I look for author illustrators, because if you have someone who can do the whole package, there's more money to be made. Anyway, so a conversation with an author that doesn't go so well is the one that is where the author sees it as very transactional. You're there to provide a service for which I'm paying you, my 15% from my earnings. And I think the whole publication process is a collaboration. It's a collaboration between author, illustrator, editor, jacket designer, marketing professionals, publicist, sales team. I mean, there's a lot of hands involved in getting your book out there, and I think, the authors who sort of see it as, what are you doing for me, as opposed to how can I work with you? Those are the tougher conversations. And it hasn't happened very often, but there have been a couple times where I've talked to someone and it just doesn't feel like it's a good match. It happens. The other reason I will say too that I have not where I've held off with representation sometimes is if that person is not really prepared. So if they've written a sample, this happens more on the adult side, I would say. Like if they've written like a book proposal, but they haven't really started their research yet, or they haven't written a sample chapter yet, or something is incomplete. It's not so much true with fiction or on the kids side, but it does happen sometimes. The other thing too is that if there is a submission history that I don't know about, and that can really kill the deal, because it's just it doesn't matter if I'm the one sending it out. If it's already been to Simon and Schuster, I can't go back to Simon and Schuster. If they said no, just because I'm a different guy sending it doesn't mean they'll take it. So
even if you've got another editor that you know personally.
Yeah, it depends on the imprint for sure. If they've seen it, then yeah, they're not gonna take a second look. It's hard to get past those, and I've had that happen. I, certainly, and I think it was a learning experience for me where I, submitted a manuscript. I can think of a very specific one, and I sent it, to a publisher whose name rhymes with Little Brown, and they came back to me and said, "Hey, we actually saw this, like, I don't know, 6 months ago." And I, said, "Oh, sorry about that. I was unaware that it had been shopped previously." It's embarrassing for me. And certainly, that book did not get sold because it had been out before. So that is something very important to know. I mean, if you have been rep prior, or if you have submitted the book, on your own, and it's gone to, and you have actually gotten responses, if you've gotten rejections, or been to an editorial meeting and been discussed, then I definitely need to know that.